It's Ashley and Rose. Welcome to the show. If you wanna know the deal, listen up, we keep it real, raw, revolutionary, talking about what's necessary, challenging the industry. Come on, have this talk with me. We will put you on a game. Tap into your full potential. Promise if you stick with us, we will help you be successful.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ashes and Roses, where we keep it real, raw, and revolutionary. Don't be shy. Join our tribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Juny.
And I'm Ashley. Let's get started with the thought of the day. Juny,
What's up?
what's your thought of the day?
Ooh, man, my thought of the day. Well, I have two. Is that fine?
Yeah.
First thought is like, yo, welcome back.
Oh, we back.
We back. It's been a long
It's been a year. I mean, depends.
I mean, it's been a year.
Depends.
Yeah,
what
I
people
guess.
consider long.
Yeah. So glad to be back. It's a little weird. I mean, we're back in a new studio and everything. It's kind of lit. But okay, so my thought of the day is based off of a show I've been watching, or a show I watched on Netflix called Made.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I was watching, you've seen the show, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of know the premise.
Mm-hmm.
So
is this spoiler alert? Do we need to tell the?
Yeah, maybe I should just kind of give what the show is about. It might be a little bit of a spoiler alert. So the show Made is about, just without giving everything away, it's about this young girl who has a child and is leaving or trying to leave a abusive relationship. Mm-hmm. So it kind of just talks about like her journey to her independence, and then, you know, kind of like all of the things that people who are in that situation may have to deal with in order to get out of it. She has a young child, and she starts working as a maid to be able to, so which is why the show is called Maid. So that's pretty much the premise. I think it's a pretty good show. There's like 10 episodes. So check it out if you haven't. But my thought of the day is, why do shows always portray women like who are in the damsel of the who are in like the damsel in distress type of situation? The shows always make it look like there's this good man nearby waiting to swoop in and like help her out and take care of all of her needs and all of those things, right? So I was thinking about that as I was watching it, because there's, spoiler alert, but there's this guy in the show who has liked her and wants to kind of be the guy who saves her, sweeps her off her feet and shows her a new way of living, a better life. I mean, which is
whole
great.
New world.
That's definitely great. But I feel like shows do that a lot, you know, and it kind of plays into this idea that like you have to be a damsel in distress for men to, you know what I mean? It kind of just plays into the, you know what I'm talking about, as far as like.
But it's also even like you're a damsel in distress and there's a guy that's there. It's like it's her choice to be that damsel in distress. Like she didn't take.
Yeah, the guy.
But a guy's not always available, to be real. Let's be real.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this show is making it look like, oh, look at this option here that you're just walking away from. And, like, in real life, that's not the case. You know what I mean? In real life, they may not pick up their phone. First of all, in real life, nobody's going to, like, drive past you and be like, oh, my gosh, come and live.
But you don't know. I mean, this is getting a little personal, but you don't know a guy that will help you out if you needed it?
I mean, I do. I do.
Okay.
But I'm not, I guess when I say damsel in distress, like her life was in shambles. Yeah. Versus, you know, like, yeah, I know guys who would help me out if like I needed something real quick. But like if my life is just crumbling down, no, I don't have a guy off the top of my head who's just going to come in and be like, yeah, let me help you rebuild your life from top to bottom. Right. You know what I'm saying? That's just not who's not my man. Yeah. Yeah, so I just thought that was, like, interesting, because I was also watching.
There probably is someone. You just probably just not going to call them. You know? So I don't know, because I feel like there is I mean, depending on the kind of woman you are, there probably is this super nice guy in your corner that wants to be with you, who wants to house you and provide everything for you.
This getting personal now. No,
I mean, no, I'm just saying, like, you know, there probably is that nice guy around there somewhere. I
mean, all the guys I know are nice.
For most, I'm saying I think for a lot of women, there is someone who wants to be with them, but they're just not interested in being with him. Does that make sense?
For whatever reason?
Yeah.
Yeah, but are we like that, or did mass media condition us into being that way?
What, to not want the nice guy?
To not want the nice guy, or, you know, to not want the guy who wants to come in and solve all our problems.
I think we do. You said did the media push us to
that, like,
that question?
That headspace. So, like, okay, for like a show like The Maid, right? Mm-hmm. She's a damsel in distress. She needs a car. The guy gets her a car. Mm-hmm. She needs housing. The guy opens his doors to her. Mm-hmm. She needs childcare. The guy is like, hey, I can help you get in over here. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay. And a lot of times you hear guys talk about, like, okay, like, for example, you know, the whole Kevin Samuels era, right? Mm-hmm. There have been podcasts and stuff where guys are talking about, like, their experiences out on dates. And I remember in particular, I was listening to one, and the guy was like, he was out with a girl and or with a woman, I guess, and she had this expectation for him to buy a meal for her child who was at home. And, you know, and me being just a regular adult person feels like that's absurd, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're watching shows like this, is it like in our subconscious, is it like, okay, if you're interested in me off rip, you should want to be able, or be in a position to be able to provide for, you know, those who come with me. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Not to get too, like, deep into it, but I think this whole damsel in distress thing is, like, to what extent are we, you know, because women, like, I feel like we have to decide, because also I was watching another show, Smart Money Women. I feel like women, we have to decide, like, when do we want to be the damsel in distress, and when do we want to be the independent Black queen? Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not fair to expect the other side to just fall in line with whoever we feel like being that day. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There has to be some sort of, like, median thing. Not to say that we're not going to have problems. There has been issues where I had to call a guy friend, absolutely, because, you know, men come in handy in different situations. Mm-hmm. But I'm not known as the girl who always needs help. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and I'm also not known as the girl who always can do it herself. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So it's like you fall kind of right in the middle.
Right in the middle. You know, but that's just something that I've consciously tried to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I feel like in society, like in dating, mm-hmm. it's really difficult. It's like women, we expect these men to cater to us, but then we're like, but I'm independent, I don't need you. Yeah. But then exactly, right? Yeah, but then when we actually need help, he's like, well, you didn't need me. Mm-hmm. You know? So anyway, I was just thinking about that.
I mean, dating is frustrating altogether. So yeah. But I can definitely relate with a lot of what you're saying as far as, like, checking yourself. Yeah. With the, you know, yeah, you want to have somebody to come and help you, but at the same time, you want to do everything yourself. Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And it's hard to, like, even, okay.
Well, she was playing the damsel in distress really well. I don't feel like there was a, you know.
Well, she was actually in distress.
But she was trying to be independent at the same time.
Right, but she just didn't even know how to begin.
$18. Like,
we're giving away the whole show.
Yeah, but yeah, we did. It's a good show, though. Alert, it's a good show. Yeah, it was a weird show for me, but
it was weird in the sense of, like, it was good in the sense of that it was, like, entertaining. I wanted to keep watching it. Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, girl, you just.
She was stressing me out. Her decisions
didn't make sense.
Yeah, I didn't.
She wasn't very smart.
Yeah, I mean,
but she also didn't graduate high school, so.
And her mother as well. Like, she's a lot like her mom. I think in more ways than she realizes. Yeah. But anyway,
and she wasn't very self-aware.
We really need to stop giving away this whole show. We might as well. That was a reaction to the
right.
Maid.
They are not even right. This is gonna be a clip right here.
Seriously.
Yeah. So what's your thought of the day?
Right. I was about to be like, you're not going to ask me?
Girl, it's been a while.
She always forgets to ask me what my thought of the day is. Okay. So my thought of the day, right? So since season 3 is about the sabbatical year.
Yes. Which, by the way, season 3 is about the sabbatical.
Yes. And so I decided to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
First off, this word sabbatical and where it first came about. Mm-hmm. And it came about so today we're going to be talking about closing our business, right? Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because that word came about like towards the end where we didn't know we were closing yet, because I was actually still reaching out to one of our competitors who recently closed their business. And I was asking him, not only like our competitor, but he was like the number one in our market. He was
in the city.
He was the top performing.
State,
yeah. When it came to like our industry and the type of homes that we had, he was like number one. And so he was who we were kind of like looking up to, a goal, looking up to, seeing that it's a possibility to be able to expand and to scale up our business. So when he closed, I called him to ask him for some advice. And one of the first things he told me, he was just like, oh, yeah, because I had been trying to reach out to him for a long time. So he was just like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I haven't been getting back to a lot of people because, I've been in sabbatical. And he was like, oh, do you know what that is? I was like,
he was mansplaining.
Okay. I was like, excuse me. But I'm not going to lie. I was like, dang, I know that word sounds familiar, but I'm like, sabbatical, like, what is it? I knew it sounded familiar.
Like the Sabbath.
So I decided for my thought of the day to actually look up the actual definition of sabbatical. And the definition, I got this from Oxford Languages. It is a period of leave granted to a university teacher or other worker for study or travel, traditionally 1 year or every 7 years worked.
1 year for every 7 years worked?
Or it says it's tradition for every, for every 7 years worked. So after 7 years of working, somebody will typically take a sabbatical, which for him, I don't think he was working for 7 years. I think it was just his business closed. So he took a sabbatical. He took a year off to do the, to study, to travel possibly. So I feel like that was pretty accurate with ours. And it kind of actually creeped me out too, because I was like, I'm pretty sure. Because remember, our business ran for pretty much like 5 years. Or no.
It was like 3, almost 4.
It ran for three years.
Yeah.
But we worked on it for 2.
So 5 years total.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, because we said it took us 2 years to actually get it started. So I thought we were at year 7. I was like, whoa.
Technically we were.
Because it's been 5 years.
Oh, wait. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's been 5 years.
Okay.
I thought we were like, I don't know why I had in my head that we ran the business for 5 years and we took 2 years to start it.
Oh, no. Yeah, we took 2 years to start it and then we ran it for 3.
Yeah. So I thought we were on year 7 already. But I also looked up the origins of the word, and yeah, it does come from the word sabbaticos, which is a Greek word, which it means Sabbath.
It means Sabbath.
Yeah. And then they were saying typically, like, we know.
But technically, go ahead.
Technically what?
Because technically.
It has been 7 years?
Oh, never mind. No. I was going to say something that was completely wrong, but go ahead.
Okay, so the other part I thought was super cool was that they talk about the sabbatical in the Bible too, not just taking the 7th day off, but actually taking the 7th year of business off.
Really?
Yeah. So it's Leviticus 25, verse 3 through 5. And it says 6 years, 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath of the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. that which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of the vine undressed, for it is a year of rest unto the Lord. I was like, whoa. But you see, while I was doing this thought of the day, I was like, whoa, we just naturally took a 7th year of rest. I was wrong the whole time. I was literally going through a whole set of emotions.
Yeah. Well, hey, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Technically, though, we probably will.
I think that some way, somehow, this, like, the sabbatical was necessary. It did feel, I don't want to say holy, but it felt like
a rest, like a rejuvenation. Because
it was necessary.
The whole point of the Sabbath is to, like, rest, to be able to have the energy to, you know, go into the 6 days of working.
And to, like, start off anew.
Yeah.
To be able to, you know, start the new crop, like, let the land rest. Our form of resting is really interesting.
And we'll get into that in other episodes.
But it did allow us, I think that the rest allowed us to create more.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
Yep. So that was my thought of the day. I thought I would just educate you guys.
Yeah. And that thought of the day brings us to kind of our theme for the season. Season 3 is the sabbatical.
Year of sabbatical.
So, and it actually, I mean, technically, it was a year of sabbatical from the podcast
for sure.
Yeah,
which we weren't ready for because we were only on season 2.
But you know what? We make the rules, so
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So nice. That's my thought.
Okay.
So next, are we doing Juny's jewels? Do we have a jewel from Juny?
I do have some jewels.
Yay. Okay.
Juny's jewels. Oh man. So my jewels were actually kind of like my takeaways from this episode's topic of, like, closing our business. Which I'm guessing we're going to tell the story here shortly. But my takeaways were prepare to pivot before you actually need to pivot. So, like, you know, for those of you who don't know, we had a senior care home for Alzheimer's and dementia. And it was like in the last few months of 2020, things were just getting real tough. With, like, you know, COVID and everything, and then just really having to go back to the drawing board as far as, like, you know, the goals that we had set out for the year, and just things that were outside of our control were affecting those goals. So we were able to pivot into, like, a different, even though we were still kind of working on trying to make the house work, or trying to make the care home work, we fortunately pivoted, you know, I want to say like a month or 2 months. I want to say like 2 months, 2 or 3 months before we closed, which was able to, you know, carry us even after the closing. So I felt like, you know, and it wasn't something that we did, like, it was our first business, our first time having to close a business. So I'm not going to say that it was something that we did strategically, but just based off of, like, us feeling like, all right, well, we still got to eat. You know what I'm saying? We were like, okay, what are some other ways to eat? So that's a big one, preparing to pivot before you actually make the leap. If you can, I know some people have to just come to, like, a halt, but we were fortunate enough to be able to kind of create a new business model that was kind of based off the one that we already had. So another takeaway is that it's not personal. Yeah. I feel like with the house, like, it was hard for it to not be personal because these are people's lives. You know, we got to know their families, we got to know their loved ones, and we got to know them in the last days of their life. So it's not an easy thing to just be like, oh, it's not personal. And I feel like because it was so personal is what made our care even better. But when it comes to the business aspect of it, like, it's a business, it's not personal. Businesses are, you know, created to make money. Essentially, if it's not making money, it's not a business. So that's one. Another, and then that was my third takeaway is businesses are made to make money, honey. That's how I have it.
Okay.
That's how I have it here.
If that's not a jewel, I don't know what is.
No, seriously. I mean, there's passion projects and then there's like businesses, and a business within itself is its own living, breathing entity whose role or goal is to create income, to generate income. So if it's not doing that, then it's just...
If it stops doing that.
Yeah, if it stops doing that.
And I think that was like the reality check. It was like, okay, it's not like it wasn't making income.
We were just spending more than we were making.
Yeah, but no, it was getting to a place like when it was time to close, it was getting to a place where it was like, we're losing the revenue. We were losing our revenue. COVID hitting, like, you know, all those all the impacts of COVID just made it even more difficult to find solutions to bring our revenue.
Yeah. And we were stressed. We were overworked.
Yeah. So that's where it goes. Like when you decided to, because I mean, I'm going to give you the props for it, because you decided to take it and move it and say, hey, let's have more than one way of making money at that point in time. It was just, the timing was perfect.
Yeah. Timing was perfect. That's all God, baby. I was the vessel. But yeah, no. I mean, it kind of worked out perfectly. I have two more jewels. Another one being leverage your contacts. So I think we were able to, based off the contacts and connections that we made running this business or the past business, we were able to kind of like reintroduce ourselves to them, and they, you know, I feel like welcomed us with open arms. And, you know, the nice thing about it is that I came to realize, like, with us closing and telling people like, hey, we closed, but we have new ventures, they were still, you know, they were still down the ride. And it made me realize that, like, okay, they believe in us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not necessarily the business plan or the business model. It's like they believe in the machine that is Ashes and Roses. You know what I'm saying? Like even outside of this podcast. So yeah. And my last jewel is that it's not a failure. It's not a failure. Yeah. I think on the outside looking in, when you see a business close or a business shut down, it's like it's like you want to say like, oh, the business failed. But no, it's not that the business failed. It actually would be a failure if we saw that it wasn't giving us the results we wanted and still kept pushing. You know what I mean? Then it would be like, okay, we are failing at this because we're not able to change the results. Yeah. But it was really more so of a lesson. I think it was a lesson in our capacity as business owners. I think it was a lesson in the kind of business we really wanted to operate. I think I don't think we shared enough of how much the business took out of us, like operating it.
She sounds like she making her way into the ratings, you know, at this point.
But I'm gonna just leave those jewels behind. Right there. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let them sparkle. But those are my jewels.
Repeat the top three again. So you said pivot.
Yeah, pivot. Prepare to pivot before you actually need to.
Okay.
It's not personal.
It's not personal.
And businesses are made to make money, honey.
Okay. All right. So, I love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said it's like not failing, it's not considered failing. It's funny because I actually wrote down, like, I said we failed up.
You know, that's a whole book. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like up. I think we failed up. And then I even had like a little analogy for it too. Sure, I mean, it's real cool. It's like, you know, like when you lose a relationship, but you find yourself.
Yeah.
You failed up.
You failed up.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you have so much.
You stumbled into a blessing.
And I feel like it's accurate to, you know, what we had going on with the business. Cause it was like, there was a relationship that we had with our business. You know what I mean? And
a toxic one. No, just kidding.
It wasn't toxic, but it wasn't
just jokes.
Really what we wanted for ourselves at the same time. So I feel like we definitely felt up.
Yeah.
And with that, let's go ahead and go into the ratings.
Yeah. You said you had, that was your analogy.
Yeah. That I was losing a relationship. Oh, you want the sound? You guys remember my, let me see. It's like all awkward over here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Failing up is like losing a relationship, but finding yourself. Ooh. And I feel the same way about the business. Like, I feel like we lost something, but we also found something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and alongside with that analogy, it's like, you know, sometimes you could be in a one-sided relationship.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you feel like the business was one-sided?
Towards the end.
Okay.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
We were putting in more than we were getting back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that for sure.
Yep. So.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start with the ratings. Okay. Yeah. We're going to start with the ashes. 3 ashes, 3 roses, yes. And then give us your rating. Yeah. So do you want me to start?
You can go ahead and start. I feel like if you're not listening or if you're watching, I know I'm making like these crazy faces right now, but you know what? Who cares?
Yeah. Okay, so the ashes of having to close our business was definitely having to let our residents and our staff go. That was like one of the hardest things because it was just like, you know, we've had this team for a while, people who believe in us, and it's really hard to tell them we don't have any more hours for you. Mm-hmm. I feel like everyone took it well. Thankfully, it's crazy, but I'm thankful that it happened around COVID time, and it wasn't just like out of the blue, out of nowhere. It's like I think that they kind of knew something was coming. It was happening to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. They saw you know what I mean? They saw us having trouble filling the beds. Yeah. You know, so it was just like, I'm thankful for that piece of it, but overall it sucked. Like having to tell the family members that were like happy with our care, that, you know, have a lot of work to do outside of, you know, taking care of their loved one, having to tell them, hey, you have to find somewhere else for them. Yeah. That was kind of the hardest thing for me. So that sucked. 2, the second ash I would say is the instability of that time. Like it was just like, because even around that time it was like 1 or 2 residents could have made a difference of us staying open versus closing. So it was just like are we closing? Are we staying open? Where do we, you know what I mean? It was just not stable. And for me, I like a stable foundation. Not that entrepreneurship is that at all, because it's not. No. But it was just an uneasy time. And then the last thing was all the business stuff that we had to that we've invested in and having to get rid of. It was just like all that work. We just had to, you know, get rid of it. Yeah. And so that was kind of hard for me. Yeah. Do you want to share your ashes, or do you want me to go ahead and move on to my roses and rate it? Or
I guess I could share my ashes. Okay. Well, that's funny because my first ash was hard telling our staff
so that
we would be closing because they were riding with us for so long. But like as you were saying that, I mean, this is an ash in that moment, but as you were saying that, I realized like they are all still our staff minus one.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah.
So there's that. The closing and cleanup process was also. I guess we have the same.
That was
ashes.
trash.
It was. And then the third ash that I had was that it's always hard closing a chapter, especially when we had put so much into it. Like you talked about, we worked and planned for 2 years before we started to see the fruit. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just the 3 years that the house had been operating. It was also it was the total 5 years that we've put into it. Because even before we had the house, you know, before it turned into like a real physical, tangible thing, like we would be up all night writing business plans. You know, we changed our name a couple times. You know, we were going to like
networking meetings,
and conferences and stuff like that.
We had to figure out where we even needed to get the license from.
Exactly, where we needed to get the license from. You know, we ran into some issues when it came to picking a house. Like we almost picked a house next to a prison. But these were things. This was like the process of getting the house up and running. You know what I mean? Like. We there were so many things, so many hoops we had to we had to jump and like get through. So it was just a lot. And I think, I think that's it for the ashes. And before I get into the roses, yeah.
All right, so my roses, and I bet you they're gonna sound similar too. Okay, so my roses. Number 1, I'm not gonna lie to you, I instantly felt freedom.
Girl, that's crazy. You want me to tell you my number one rose? It's like a breath of fresh air.
I mean, that sounds terrible, but let's be real. Let's really think about it. How old were we? 20
when we closed or when we opened? We were 23.
We were 23. So we're 23, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Opening a business, taking care of people with Alzheimer's and dementia.
Dealing with their kids.
When we should be out partying on New Year's, our staff is calling off. When we should be, you know what I'm saying? Like all the stuff that was, it was a lot. Like, and then we're also watching these residents that we have relationships with. We're watching them decline. Like all of everything that we were doing was just so much emotional energy. Was going into it. Physical energy. All of that. Like we both had full-time jobs still. Coming here and like not getting any sleep.
We used to work 24-hour shifts. Like
because and then even the shifts that we work here, it's not like you can just sleep. Like you have people with dementia that you have to watch out for. So it's like, you know, it was a lot. And then not only that, it was almost kind of a thankless job as well, because the families appreciate you for the most part, but there are a lot of people who they only see what's wrong. They don't see
what's right.
And then same thing sometimes with our staff too. It's like, there's so much that you can do for your staff to make them happy, to make them have a comfortable work environment, making sure they get in their money, making sure, you know what I mean? Like there's just so much that you can do for them, but then it's so easy to get on their bad side.
Right. And I want to say like, okay, we say dementia and, you know, like the cute thinking of dementia is like, oh, they're forgetting. Right. They're forgetting, they're fighting, they're hitting, they're biting, they're running away. You know what I'm saying? They're cussing you out. You know, listen.
They lying.
I love all of them. I loved all of them, and it's like they forget everything else, but they don't forget you black. Oh, you know what I mean? So imagine someone you're taking care of calling you all types of things. It wasn't like, oh, just this fun, like, oh, it's just, oh, they're just forgetting. They're forgetting, and they're going through the process of forgetting. Yeah. Physically and aggressively. And you're managing, like, you know, residents fighting residents fighting staff fighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, clients fighting staff. It's just all kinds of things that
clients making accusations, having to prove these accusations wrong. Like, it's just,
yeah. And then on top of that, clients, you know, and then we gave our life to this. So and then on top of that, you know, clients feeling like we weren't equipped or we weren't, you know,
I mean, I don't know. It's not that I don't think that they felt, it was just the expectations, even though we were surpassing the expectations of bigger facilities. You know, we were surpassing, we were equipped with more stuff, you know, having a smaller ratio. Like, I don't think we were lacking.
No, we weren't lacking, but it's kind of like that thing of like, you just take things for, it's like, okay, let's say someone is dating somebody who is upper, has a little bit more money than them, and then they're able to provide the person that they're dating a better lifestyle, right? And now that person who is just so accustomed to this lifestyle, now all of a sudden their expectations are so high. But however, if you were to leave them, they couldn't uphold the lifestyle
that they wanted.
That they want. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So freedom.
Yeah.
The rose.
Well, that was the rose.
That was
guys,
like the first thing. Right. But no, the freedom of it was like the first thing. Basically, we're just saying that's what we freed ourselves from. Yeah. The other thing was new ideas, new perspective, and new goals was my other rose. And that's just like one rose. It all came out of my head, like my mind at the same time. So it was just like, okay. The new goals part is real. I think after closing, I realized, or even before, a little bit before closing, but I was just like, you know what? I want my income to be passive. This is too much. Like, we're stuck. We can't just travel. Like, traveling Oh my goodness. Like those people that actually know me personally, they know that I love to travel. That's what I like. I love to do that. And when it came time to travel, I kid you not, like that's when stuff
would hit the fan.
Yeah, something drastic would happen. Like that was frustrating. So my new goals of like passive income has literally changed my life already. The other one with like new perspective coming into, because you guys will see in the next couple episodes, we wouldn't be coming to see y'all if we weren't still running businesses.
Come on now.
Yeah. Okay. So being able to run a new business from a different perspective, the perspective of I am an experienced entrepreneur. I've already experienced hiring. I've experienced having to let people go. I've experienced having to train. You know what I mean?
Doing the job.
I've experienced dealing with laws and regulations. That part, okay. So it's cool to come in like a little bit more ready, you know? And then the last rose I have is a new challenge. Like it allowed room for us to have more, you know, a new challenge to start a new business. It just like, it's kind of like the ashes, like closing was like a fire and then it left us to ashes. And now I'm starting to see this little bud that's coming out of the ashes and making its way into something new. Yeah. And beautiful.
That's nice.
Yeah.
The ashes and the roses.
Yes.
My roses are, my first one was, it's like a breath of fresh air, not having to worry about or be responsible for actual human lives. Like we still don't have kids, but you couldn't do anything without planning things down to a T. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time, there was a time that we were kind of juggling two of these houses. We had one in Ohio and then one in Florida. And I remember I was trying to take a trip and I was managing the Ohio one. And like right before the trip, I lost like all my staff. I was just like, are you serious?
Like,
yo, it was just not fun. So it was definitely like a breath of fresh air, not having to deal with that. My other roles, I'm sorry, is that it opens you up to be able to think of other creative ways to do business. And I think we were just so used to hustling that, you know, prior to now, it just made sense, like, to build something from the ground up. You gotta, you know, pull your sleeves up and get dirty in it. But having to kind of like do something else freed us up to be able to be creative in the way that we wanted to create our new projects and how we wanted to run those. So that was fun. And like you said, like I didn't realize like the level of mental exhaustion until afterwards, because it was kind of just like it was just a thing where the house ran 24 hours a day for 3 years, you know. So that means like nonstop. Like I couldn't sleep with my phone off. The way people do not disturb, that was like never a thing. That was not a thing at all. Like middle of the night, early morning, it doesn't matter. Like you got to be ready to go. So there was that. And my last rose is that we had already began our exit plan in the nick of time to be able to still carry us over income wise. So that was a rose for me. Like we still had considerable amount of like income coming in that like, yeah, our business closed, but we didn't have to, you know, rush to go and find something.
We didn't have to go back to work.
Yeah, we didn't have to go back to work. So that was those are my roses. And then just like overall, it was just it was a good first business experience. I know what I don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I know what is not a thing for me anymore. I know how much of myself I don't want to give.
It's crazy. Towards the end of our business, we had this mentor just pop up out of nowhere, pop up and left. I don't know where he went.
Listen, if you're watching, you can hit us back up.
Come on back. But he popped up and left. And it's funny because there was something he said to us, because we explained to him like our whole business, Because I think the thing is, every time we think about closing, some way, somehow, somebody, I think we always reach out to someone for advice about should we stay open. And in the past, people were like, push through. You can stay open. What? You still got this much revenue coming in? What are y'all complaining about? You know, like stuff like that was being said to us. But towards the end, he pretty much like opened our eyes he opened my eyes, at least. I don't know about you, and he never like said it directly, but something he said had me thinking like, is this business ever going to be successful?
What did he say?
I mean, he pretty much was just like, look at the history
of these kinds of businesses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm over here thinking about our biggest competitor who literally just shut down all of his houses. So at that point, after that conversation, I knew by then I was already thinking about what's going to be our next business.
Yeah. I think when he said that, I was like, cool. I mean, I was ready. I think I was ready for it to close when it happened. Because like I said, I feel like I was holding on by a thread. Yeah. You know? But it didn't, in the moment, it was just like, this is just what we have to do. But yeah, in retrospect, you know.
Yeah. But it did open our eyes to making me see, okay, this is the role I want to play in my business. I know what I want to do now. And I think he was kind of trying to coach us into that direction too for ourselves. Like, what do you want to be doing? Like, where do you really want to be? But, yeah, I realized that, no, I don't want to be having my phone ringing off the hook all the time. I can't be without my phone. I can't go on a trip without making sure everything's in place. It was like we really had a child.
Yeah. We had a child who had children. Okay. So it was
they're
crazy.
Adults. Like they were adults too, like that we had to take care of, that we were in charge of.
And then it was also too, because we were still kind of operating like as a small business. I mean, we were a small business. We were operating as a small business, but I know like you and I always had the vision of something bigger. However, just sometimes it felt like, our team, they felt like they couldn't do things without us, or they couldn't, things, we had to be involved for things to be done. So it was just a lot. And, we were young. I mean, we're still young. We were younger. It was a lot of responsibility.
That was our first business.
Yeah, so. It was a lot of responsibility. But I wouldn't change it. I mean, like,
no, I'm happy.
I wouldn't change it, because I don't think any other business, well, I'm not going to say that other businesses wouldn't give us experience. Anything will give you experience. However, I don't see, like, the amount of experience that we gained from this particular business, I don't see what else would have, like, outside of running a daycare.
Listen, we handled a house full of people with dementia. I think we'll be all right with everything else that comes our way. Yeah. Like, talk about having to problem solve, having to think on your toes,
dealing with death,
dealing with the unexpected. Like, that was probably an intense way to start, but it was definitely, and I think that we started with our heart. Well, at least for me, I started with my heart first. You know what I mean? Like, and my heart was there for, my passion with people with dementia. Like, that's where my heart was. So that's where I started with. But I realized, I learned through all of this that there is a way for you to use your heart, but to also make that money.
Make the money. Yeah.
Money, honey.
Yeah.
So what would you say you rate it? What was your rating? What did you say altogether?
My rating was the act of closing it. Yeah. So 1 being like, this sucks. And 5 being like, this is pretty cool. I would give it a 5. Don't get me wrong. I learned a lot from that business. I learned my strengths. I learned what I was good at. I learned kind of like things about me that I didn't know. And I enjoyed my patients. They enjoyed me. I mean, not my patients, my residents. They enjoyed me as well. But all in all, it was a 5. Like, I could literally be like, yo, I'm going to Miami for a month, and like nothing would fall apart. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing is going to fall apart. I can do everything that I do now from anywhere in the world. So Yeah. I would say that it's a 5 because, I love my freedom. Mm-hmm. So just the level of freedom that we have is priceless.
Yeah. I literally wrote down 5 stars.
Oh, wow.
Which I felt bad too because of like the residents and staff. I was like, oh, that was really sad. But like you said, we were able to pivot with the majority of our staff, especially the day ones. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's a 5 for me. It's a 5. It's gonna be a 5 because it opened my eyes to so many things. Yeah. Like it made me realize that I really had more. Because yes, you can run business with your heart, but you have to. There's a side of like logic and business.
It's a skill set.
There's that side where it's like you shouldn't be attached. You can't to anything. You can't attach yourself to it because then all of a sudden you're running it based off your emotions, based off of based off your attachment versus based off what logically makes sense. Yeah. And so I'm proud of us for ripping that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I'm proud we didn't go another year of drowning.
Yeah, but for the sake of the thumbnail of us saying that we closed our business,
our first business,
let's take a moment of silence to do like a very dramatic sad face. Thumbnail.
Yes, I mean, all in all though, like I would say that shout out to our supporters. Yes. Who have supported us from day one, our friends and family who have believed in us. And, we took care of 10 elderly people with Alzheimer's and dementia in 3 years. So that's pretty dope. Yeah. So, we closed our first business and,
and we bouncing back.
We bounced back. Okay. Back. So that's also why we were gone. So
yes, on the sabbatical. Yes, so that makes sense. You guys see why we had to take a year off now. Yeah, right? It was just a lot. Because you know what? I was about to ask you, like, do you feel like you grieved the business at all?
Do I feel like I grieved? I feel like I grieved the residents at different times. Because I was attached to the residents. But not necessarily like hearing that our resident has passed, like I definitely grieve those. As far as grieving the business, I don't feel that I grieved it simply because we didn't stop. Okay. I think if it was a situation where we closed this business and now I'm back to a regular everyday 9-to-5 life, I'd be grieving. Real sad. Yeah. But I don't think that I grieve it in the sense that like, oh, that was an era, but it's still alive and well. I mean, it just looks different.
Okay. So yeah, I don't feel like I fully processed it probably because we started the new ones as well. So it was like we were so busy with something else. Like we were so busy trying to figure out, okay, how do we keep making money without having to go back to work? Like how do we keep bringing in the revenue? And so that and then I think that you and I really love starting new projects. Yeah. Like the beginning is so much fun and it's exciting.
Like, we love it too much.
Yeah. I mean, we literally had to talk to each other like we need to stop starting projects.
No more.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I think I was, what was I saying? I lost.
You were talking about grieving.
Oh yeah. I just think that I was so busy, like ready to start this new business that I wasn't worried about the
old one,
the one closing. Like I didn't feel like it was a failure. It didn't feel that way to me. So yeah.
Nope. Yeah. So that's what's up. Yay. I mean, I don't know if it's a yay situation. I just, but we definitely understand that, like, for different people in different situations, it may not always be a positive thing, but for us it was a positive. Yeah, it was a positive experience.
And this is like real, like we're being real about it. Yeah. Like, I think that we had the time in the sabbatical year to really think about, okay, what is Ashes and Roses for? What message are we spreading? Like, what are we saying to people? What are we sharing? And we came to the conclusion, I mean, since the very beginning, we've been saying that we just want to be real about our journey. Keep it real with you, yeah. And so, yeah, this time last year. When we dropped our last episode. We didn't even actually get to drop our last episode of Ashes and Roses because things were just falling apart.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, when we decided to close, it was hard for us to keep up with the podcast because we had other things to focus on. So this is just us being real. We had to close. I think that maybe had we podcast through that time, maybe eventually we'll be able to be that skillful. Yeah. Where we can actually podcast through it.
Through the situation.
Through the current situations happening. That will probably be more helpful for you guys. But at the time we were choosing us first. So maybe next time. Hopefully we don't have to close another business.
We don't have to close another one. But this is pretty much what happened.
Next time something hits the fan, hopefully we can, keep podcasting through it. So they can actually see like how we're really feeling. Because at that time, I don't think that we were feeling like, yay, we closed the business. I mean, I still feel like we did messed up, but underlyingly we were like, we're free.
Yeah. We free, and we took that freedom and ran with it.
We didn't even know what to do. We really didn't know what to do with it.
Listen to next week's episode to find out what happened next. Yeah.
What we did like maybe weeks after we closed. Okay, just maybe like 2 weeks.
2 weeks after, yeah,
maybe
definitely.
2 weeks after we closed.
2 weeks after we closed, we were like, hit the road, Jack. Yeah. It was interesting. I mean, I know we're about to close this episode, but it just came to my mind how like I would tell, like people would ask like, how's the business? And be like, oh yeah, we closed. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, no big deal.
Right. Like we're okay. We're gonna be all right.
Good.
That was funny.
So yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna close off with our quote of the day, like we usually do. I'll start with my quote. I actually got this quote from that book, the Failing Up book, and it's by Leslie Odom. And this is what the quote says. It says, "The path to moments of greatness in your life will be paved in part with your spectacular failures." And let me just tell you, this failure was spectacular.
Spectacular.
Wow.
Right? That's nice.
And what
I mean, you don't think about it like that, but when you're actually in the midst of failing, but yeah,
for sure.
That was nice. Okay. So, my quote is the more and more I learn about him is by Richard Branson. More I like this guy. But my quote is, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. So I felt like that was fitting for this episode and kind of like, the journey that we found ourselves on. So yeah, I mean, close this one, there's another one coming. So hopefully if you're in a situation where, you're having to make hard decisions, like should I stay or should I go? There's always something nice on the other side. So thanks for listening to this episode. Like always, you can listen to us on Apple, Google, and Spotify, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Ashes and Roses Real. See you next time.